get this right. You're fan-sided sports contributing writer for the you cover Oregon sports and Big Ten sports. I thought you were primarily all about the Big Ten. Oregon. I'm wrong.
I probably oversold myself with that Big Ten thing. I was hoping to get more people to tune in, but yeah, primarily it's an Oregon space and an Oregon perspective.
Oh yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's start again. You sounded like a robot. I don't know what happened. Maybe we had a bad connection. All right, hold on a second.
All right.
Start again. Oh yeah, it's going. Okay. JD talking sports. So Dale Bliss, and I forgot to ask him last time, fan-sided sports contributing writer for the Autzons who covering Oregon sports and Big Ten sports. So what do you cover in the Big Ten besides Oregon?
Honestly, JD, I probably oversold myself with the Big Ten thing. I really was just trying to get more people interested. Occasionally, we will do a power ranking or something of that nature.
Okay. All right. So the big story. Will Stein, who has been with you since 2023, is leaving to take the Kentucky job. He was a Louisville quarterback 4 years. I looked up 25 games, really didn't play a lot in the 4 years, didn't throw a lot of passes, but he has a connection to Kentucky area. He already got a 4-star quarterback I saw signing tomorrow. Now he's going to work with Oregon and then he's going to be, while he's
Will Stein has committed. We're getting some echo and so on. Does it sound all right on your end?
It sounds okay. Hold on. Yeah, let me move that away. Okay, yeah. How does it sound now? A little better?
I think we're okay. It could be my fault because I'm technologically inept. But Will Stein has agreed to stay on at Oregon through the playoffs. Dan Lanning did the same thing when he got his big job as coach of the Ducks. He finished his tenure at Georgia, helped them win a national championship in 2021. And for the month of December, he'll do the same thing as Stein is going to do now, where he's getting things organized, overseeing recruiting, hiring a staff, but he's doing double duty. He's still going to do the play calling for the Ducks and trying to help this team get through the playoffs, which is a great thing because the players will have continuity and a chance to finish their season.
Okay, but do you find this a little concerning, or you think he'll be able to handle all this?
I don't find it concerning. I think Will Stein is a great guy. He's a man of integrity. And I know he'll do justice to Oregon and the Oregon program while doing the things necessary to get the ball rolling at Kentucky. By the way, both of his parents are Kentucky grads. I think his father played football for the Wildcats, and Will Stein grew up a Kentucky fan, even though he played at Louisville. He was a walk-on quarterback who became a starter but lost his job to Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
Yeah. So and sometimes those kind of guys make the best coaches because they had to work. They had to think their way through things to get playing time and be productive in the system. And I think a lot of times it's not the star who makes a great coach. It's the journeyman. It's the guy who had to study the game.
Now, who is in line to be the next OC? Is it going to be in-house? Chip Kelly. I read that Pete Carroll was the one who was putting his hands on the offense in a detrimental way, and then they got rid of Chip Kelly. But Chip Kelly last year won a chip with Ohio State. That's not a guy they're talking about at all to come back to Oregon, are they?
No, it's not a good fit culturally. I mean, most of Dan Lanning's hires, and he's been one reason I'm not really worried about this hire. for the Ducks. Dan Lanning has done a tremendous job hiring staff. He has shown that he's a great judge of coaching talent, and he tends to hire young, dynamic guys on the rise with high energy and recruiting chops. And Chip Kelly, although he's an accomplished coach who, as you said, won a national championship with the Buckeyes, he's not that guy. He's a little more set in his ways. He's not a terrific recruiter. And this staff demands a lot. Dan Lanning demands a lot from his coaches, but he definitely is a great boss to work for. I just don't think the fit of Chip Kelly coming back to Oregon, as the number two guy, I don't think it works.
So that's what I was. So who do you see? Uh, just like, I mean, it's nothing we don't know right now. But who do you what's your gut telling you for the next to take over for Will Stein?
Dan Lanning, Dan Lanning likes innovation and growth. Definitely has a growth mindset. It's less likely to be an in-house guy. For one thing, he definitely wants a guy who has play calling experience. This is not an on the job training situation. This is a team that is built to compete for Big Ten and national championships and to win at a high level. So they need a guy who has expertise. For one thing, he'll be entrusted with the continued development of Dante Moore, who's a great quarterback entering his redshirt junior year. Had a good season this year. He's draft eligible and would actually go really early in the NFL draft. But the best indications are that Moore and his camp want to stay another year at Oregon. And that means Lanning has got to find a guy who can maximize Moore's development and potential.
Okay, because that's what. So it's funny you said that. I was going to ask you next about Dante Moore, but you're hearing that he's coming back next year for the 26 season.
That's the indication so far. It could change, of course, depending on the rapport or the impression that he has of the new offensive coordinator. It could change if he has a really great playoff run, and just looks like a slam dunk number one pick. In order to come back, he'd have to turn down a contract close to $50 million. And, he could do that. It would definitely benefit him to get another year as a starter in college football. You look at guys who've had great careers, the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys and so forth. They had that extra time as college quarterbacks, to learn how to read defenses and handle situations. And the stats show that the guys who have the best long-term careers and get that second contract are the ones who enter the NFL with a knowledge base and with some time in the pocket rather than rushing to the next level. There are five names that have surfaced early in this process as possibles. I have great confidence that Lanning will make a good hire. If you look at his track record, both of his offensive coordinators, have gone on to be head coaches, and all through the staff, Rashad Samples, Ross Douglas, Ali Terry, they're all terrific coaches with great futures. Those three guys really aren't ready to step up and be an OC. As I said, they don't have the play calling experience. Best chances of they'll go outside. If they hire an internal candidate, JD, it's apt to be Drew Maringer, the tight end coach, because he has called plays before. In fact, he did a really terrific job when Kenny Dillingham moved on. Maringer called the plays for the bowl game, and he's been the guy in the booth for 3 years. So, he's been on the headset, calling plays, surveying the field. So he has a knowledge base to move up. But if they go outside, 5 names that have surfaced early include Buster Faulkner at Georgia Tech, Jonathan Brewer at Duke, Mac Letwich at Texas Tech, Corey Dennis at UNLV, and Justin Burke at UTSA, which is where they got Will Stein. So those are 5 names that have come up early. It'll be a process. Dan Lanning likes to get prospective coaches up on the whiteboard, explaining plays, breaking down a defense. And he learned that process from Nick Saban. It's very rigorous. It's very intensive. It's very, hands-on, and let's see what you got. So the guy who gets the job will have to have a vision. He'll have to be able to communicate, and he'll have to be a great interview. One of those five guys definitely fills the bill.
When you said Leftwich, he's not married. He's not related to. Is that a Byron Leftwich? Is he related?
No,
That's not the same.
He's actually related to Cutter Leftwich, who is on the Oregon staff as an offensive line analyst. So
okay.
He's done a great job at Texas Tech. They've got a high-powered offense, and it look like they're going to be in the playoff. Currently, AP number 5. So the other question there is, is Oregon, from his perspective, a better job than Texas Tech? I believe it is. If you compare the facilities and the track record of the teams, but the Red Raiders are definitely a good program.
I mean, you just came off a 3rd straight 11-win season at Lanning. I would think, and that's Stein. So Stein was coordinator since 23. I saw the EPA has been the best in college football since he came over, and he had a quarterback finalist for the Heisman in Nix and Gabriel. And now he's got Dante Moore. His track record is, that's a job. I think Texas Tech has a lot of money that they're throwing, which they did this year. But Oregon, to me, seems like it's the program to stay at. And what year is Sadiq? Is Sadiq going, or you think he's gonna come back?
Kenyon Sadiq is a draft eligible junior. He definitely has the profile to move on to the NFL, and most of the draft projections, the mock drafts that I've seen, have him going in the 1st round. He did not have a good game against Washington, although in the 2 games prior to that, he was outstanding with 3 touchdowns and a lot of big plays. I kind of wonder, and I haven't interviewed him, I haven't talked to him about it, but just observing from the outside and watching the way he played, I sort of wonder a little bit if all the John Mackey Award talk, he's a finalist for that award, maybe got in his head a little bit, because he seemed to be pressing a little bit, had a couple of drops in this game. But, he's a good athlete and a hard worker. I really feel like he's going to turn around in the playoffs and be a difference maker and have some great games. I think this was a one-off for him. He just had a bad day. Any athlete can.
So we didn't talk after the USC game, which you were pretty much. It was a shootout, and Sadiq had a great game, and Bliss Whittington had a lot of catches, a lot of rushing yards. I did not. So they only got 1 sack in that game. I did not see any of the Washington-Oregon game because I think we were driving back from Texas. We went to the Texas A&M game on Friday night, and 4 sacks. Yeah, that was great. Listen, and you know what's funny? I see how Dante Moore plays. Arch Manning in the first half looked like a high school quarterback. That's how bad he looked. He looked terrible. 5 for 18 or something. And the second half, he made plays with his legs, with his arms, and they beat an undefeated A&M team, which I am not sold on as a team that I just don't think they played anybody. Whereas you guys have played some. It's just interesting. I went through all of the top 25 teams to see how they did against ranked teams throughout the year, and Indiana played 2 ranked teams all year. Ohio State played only 3 ranked teams all year. You played 4. So it was interesting to see how because they're called Texas is upset because they played Texas to start the year. They have 3 losses, and no 3-loss team has never made the college football playoff. Whereas I wanted to know what you thought after the last 2 games. Do you feel they're clicking on all cylinders, or there's still things to work on? Because now they're not going to play for right. They're not going to play for another 18 to 19 days, right? The 19th or 20th. That's a long break, which hurt them last year, I thought.
I agree with you. It did. They did not handle that as well as they would have liked. This year, however, I think it helps them, JD, because they get a chance to heal, and they really need that. Right now, they are down six scholarship wide receivers. Uh, three of
Wow.
the three of the starters on the offensive line are dinged up. They're playing, but they're playing a little bit hurt. Isaiah World, Alex Harkey, and the center Pancho Lalaulu are all playing with injuries. So having that 20-day stretch, to get everybody healthy. Malik Benson said after the game, if we get all our guys back, or when we get all our guys back, we're going to be scary. And it was interesting that he said when, and he said all of our guys. Now that means possibly he means Gary Bryant Jr., Evan Stewart, and Decorian Moore. And this offense with those three explosive targets back in the lineup could really be historically good. I mean, they've done amazing things as a team, ran a gauntlet in November. They played four teams with winning records back to back to back. They handled hostile environments at Iowa and Washington and really won every type of game. They won a physical, tense game in bad weather where they had to rely on the running attack. They won a shootout with USC, and they manhandled Washington for 4 quarters, had 4 sacks, and just played a really disciplined game against Demond Williams. So I like where the Ducks are at, and I like how they responded to the adversity they had. And if they get healed up and get a little bit more healthy, they've got a chance to make a run in these playoffs, particularly because it looks like they're going to get a good draw.
So that's what I want to. Now you said offensively, it sounds like the running backs are in pretty good, healthy. Healthy per se. How about the defense? How are we looking on the defense, health wise? Because you bring up the offense, you said the line and the wide receivers. How's the defense per se?
The defense looks good that way. They really haven't lost a starter for a significant amount of time on the defense. And now, of course, this time of the year in college football, everybody's a little bruised up.
Right.
But with 3 weeks to get ready, provided they have a incident-free, you know, 21 days on the job, as they prepare. It's like, the clock down at the plant where, days since a lost time injury. Well, the Ducks need to have no lost time injuries during practice as they prepare for these playoffs, and they should be in great shape. Jaden Kennedy, in particular, is taking his play to an entirely different level in the secondary, and that makes this pass defense just scary. I think they limited Washington to something like 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. They really did a great job of putting a cage around Williams and limiting his effectiveness. They kept him in the pocket, played with a lot of discipline and a really sound plan.
Right. So I think you guys were up 26. They got a garbage touchdown at the end that made it look closer than it was. It wasn't ever that close, right? I think it was 19-7 at one point, and was it 26-7 or I know it was 19-7. Oh, it was 19-14, right?
Okay,
And then
it
it got
was
it.
19-7 entering the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter starts, and Jeremiah McClellan makes an incredible catch, pinning the ball against his helmet like the guy from the New York Giants did a
Right.
few years
Yeah.
in the
Right.
Super
Right.
Bowl.
Right. Right. Yes.
Maintains control through the ground with one hand, all while the defender is holding on to his left arm with both hands. There was a blatant pass interference at the very least, and really the entire announcing team, Gary Danielson, Brad Nessler, their officiating analyst, who I think is Dean Blandino, they all said, "Yeah, that's a catch. That looks like a catch to me." He maintained control. The ball hit the ground, but he never lost control of it. It stayed in his possession the entire time, and both his knees and his forearm, excuse me, his knees and his forearms hit before the ball hit, and he still kept control. It was an incredible play, an incredible effort play by McClellan, who's made a couple, three of those this year. But they upheld the call on the field on review, and the Ducks had to punt. James Ferguson
Oh,
Reynolds got off a really good punt. Uh, Washington went down and scored. They converted a fourth and eight play at the goal line to make it 19-14. So the Ducks had possession with about 8:54 to play in the game, really needing a drive to seal the game. And what happened was, oh my goodness, the first two plays were a disaster. Uh, Moore threw a pass a little bit behind Sadiq, and they missed connection. The second down running play was stuffed, so it's 3rd and 9. Washington just scored. The Ducks are up by 5, and they need a play right now to win this game. And what happened is the protection held up beautifully. Washington showed 5 and sent 4 with a twist, and they managed. The protection held up, and Moore had time to survey the field, manipulate the defenders with his eyes, and he threw a pass over the middle to Malik Benson, who caught it between 4 defenders and outraced all 4 to the end zone for a 64-yard touchdown to win the
wow.
game. No,
Wow.
Washington had 2 more possessions left. They shut them down on a 4th and 3 play, stopping them just short of the sticks. And on the last desperation series of the game, they intercepted a pass. Dylan Thieneman, ranging deep at deep safety, took the ball away from Williams to seal the game. So it was tense in moments, but the Ducks never lost control of it. Washington never had the ball with a chance to go ahead after the 4-minute mark of the first quarter. So they did a good job of game control, and I think the committee, when it meets tonight for the penultimate time, will reward them for a sound and convincing November.
Yeah, and, that's interesting you said that because do you feel that if Bama loses handily to Georgia, even though they beat them early in the season with as a 3-loss team, they're saying that the championship game does not affect that they should get in. But I'm feeling if Bama gets blown out, would they drop them? Would they just drop them out of the? Then it'd be a 3-loss team. That's what I'm wondering about. Which for Oregon's sake, like you said, don't give them any decision. But we're in 11-1. You're in, but 10-2. They could always say, well, maybe, So I'm kind of curious if Bama doesn't play well against Georgia, if they could get knocked out. But I heard they don't hold that against them. Like Indiana hasn't beaten Ohio State since '88. They've lost 30 in a row, which I'm just and so my cousin said there is no chance, no way that Indiana is going to beat Ohio State. And I said, none of us know about Indiana because they really haven't played anybody. Who they played, the only team they played was Oregon early in the year. They beat them. And since then, they only had 2 ranked games. Oh, they beat you. Was it USC? I think. I forget who even they played in the other. They've only had 2 games against ranked teams all season. So it's kind of crazy.
I don't remember their other ranked
Oh,
win.
Penn. Maybe it was Penn State. Yeah, I know it was somebody. It was. I can't. I got to get my. That's all they played is 2-0 against ranked teams. I think Penn State was no. You played Penn State. They were ranked. So isn't it crazy? Did you know? Okay, did you see this yesterday? Out of the AP preseason top 25, how many teams are not ranked now? Aren't ranked for preseason? How many do you think?
Josh Pate, who is
yes,
I would never question Josh Pate on facts about college football. He says there are 12 that were ranked preseason that are which begs the question, JD, why even have a preseason poll? It
Exactly.
shapes
I mean,
perception for 2 or 3 months, and the SEC in particular uses it to kind of poison the rankings and the perception of teams. And,
agree.
but yet you have, you know, it's wildly inaccurate. 12
Yes.
teams are completely out of the rankings about after being ranked preseason. So, I mean, my goodness,
Well,
how can you
it,
base?
right. But Oregon, they had preseason 7, which I thought was interesting. Penn State was 2, Clemson was 4, LSU was 9, Arizona State, which was ranked and then dropped out. Illinois was ranked, dropped out. So South Carolina, wow, at 13 was Michigan. It's interesting. Are 15th. Florida was 15th. SMU was in and out. K State just at 17 has been garbage. Who else? Iowa State did not have a good year. Tennessee, I saw a stat of the Tennessee that I think they were ranked. It's some crazy stat about them. I should have wrote it down. That basically they never held on to the ranking. Every time they were ranked, they lost. So they kept going in and out, and they get back in, and they lose again. And so they were, and it's just like I looked at all the teams, and I'm like, it's crazy now. So Big Ten. It was you guys, Iowa, Indiana. So Ohio State, Indiana, and you are in the top right, top 5. Am I? What are you 4? You're 4 now, right?
Correct. In the AP and coaches poll right now, the Ducks are
4.
number 4. Now they'll get bumped from the 4 spot because the committee shows a preference towards conference champions, which, is reasonable. So depending on, how BYU, Texas Tech turns out, how Georgia, Alabama turns out, there'll be some shifting in the rankings. I expect the Ducks to settle in at either 5 or 6, worst case scenario 7, but that doesn't feel quite fair to me. Of course, I'm a
No,
little bit biased. By the
no.
way, Indiana's other ranked win, and this is another interesting debate, their other ranked win was back in September against number 9 Illinois. Illinois was
Right.
ranked ninth at the time,
Right. They
and they
were. They were.
scrubbed them. They beat them 63-10.
That's why I was
Um,
blanking out. Right. I remember that was a big. Do you remember that day? They were like, "Oh, this one's going to be," and I said they put 63. I was like 63 against, and I was like, "This is crazy. This is." And Illinois beat USC this year, so it's like just crazy how up and down it is. I mean, that's wow. You know
there's
why
a
I was really. What were you going to say?
I'm sorry. There's a lot
No.
of parity in college football more than ever before. And you get to teams like Illinois, USC, Washington, they're all really close. Everybody's got some talent. I'm
Right.
really impressed. Even though the Hoosiers don't have a lot of ranked wins, I'm really impressed with their coaching, their discipline. They're a very balanced team, offense and defense, run and pass. So I think they'll be tough. Ohio State is a machine. I don't know if anybody's going to beat them, but Indiana, I think, will make it a competitive game.
Did you watch any of the Michigan Ohio State game? Did you see that touchdown catch where he fumbled the ball, then crossed, fumbled the ball again, and stepped out of bounds? Like that one, I thought that one went against Michigan. I thought that was a touchback. That was a
I
touchback
agree.
to me.
I agree. It was a great effort by Jeremiah Smith, but he didn't have control of the ball when he crossed the goal line, and before he got control of it, he stepped out of bounds. So that's a touchback. And years ago, Oregon had a play where Cameron Colvin against Cal, against Aaron Rodgers and Cal, I believe it was. Uh, he is reaching for the goal line, and the ball swatted away from him and goes out of the end zone, out of bounds. And I think that's probably the dumbest rule in football. It's the only place on the field where the team that last possessed the ball doesn't get the ball back.
A
Uh,
lot of people
it,
complain about that. Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense to me that it ought to be the team that had the ball last gets the ball where they last possessed it. But it seems overly penalizing for that to be a touchback. But in that particular case, that's what it should have been. Smith got credit for a touchdown that he really didn't score.
But I thought the game was over when Michigan got 2 field goals to start the game. You're not going to beat anybody, and that's any team, I would say. The momentum is in a 6-0 lead when you should really be up. Even 10-0 would have been different, but 2 field goals isn't beating them. And even taking away that touchdown, they were Ohio State was a better team, and they got Bo Jackson is a freshman running back. He looked fun. I mean, I was like, that team is powerful. But this another play. I was watching at the end of the night. I was watching SMU Cal. Cal was beating them bad. They came back and they gave a Cal touchdown. The guy was parallel to the goal line. The ball was in his was on the outside. He crossed with the arm that didn't have the ball, and they gave him a touchdown. And they reviewed it again, and I was like, no, he was parallel to the. And these refs have been making some bad call, and that cost SMU going to the ACC championship game. And I was like, guys, we got to be a little more, consistent. So I'm worried about that, especially with the replay.
I so agree with the prevalence of gambling in college football and the stakes in terms of moving on to the playoffs and so on. College football desperately needs full-time professional officials with a performance review process. The standard for officiating has to match the standard and the effort of the players. You've got a situation now where every week young men are giving everything and they have to win football games, and the decisions are inconsistent, they're unclear, reviews are spotty and unfocused, pass interference penalties. I mean, in our game, I shouldn't say our game. That's terrible. That's unprofessional.
No, it's your game. Come on. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Come on. Dale, you're good.
We're among friends. But in Oregon's game, I mean, there were play after play. There were defensive backs hanging on to receivers, taking away one arm. How can that not be a penalty? It's so blatantly obvious. Holding is something. Some games they call every little holding penalty.
And then other ones you're like,
don't call any.
You're watching the game and you see the guy getting pulled. You can see his shoulder, and I'm like, because that's what I was told. I was always told they could call holding on every single play. Every single play, somebody's doing something. If a guy's getting through the line, there's someone holding. There's someone holding a block too long. But the pass interference, Dale, it drives me crazy. You're like, wait a minute. I mean, he's pulling his arm back. What's going on here? It's bad. I agree with you.
What fans want to see is some consistency. And in order to have that, you've got to have officials whose only job is officiating football games. And they study it and they watch film and their performance gets reviewed. There has to be some calibration where what's a pass interference penalty in the SEC is a pass interference penalty in the Big Ten. And the penalty that's called when you're at Iowa is the same penalty they call in the USC game. As long as it's consistent, that then people are happy with it. But when you've got, millions being wagered on games and players being paid in the millions of dollars, and officials are, weekend guys who are insurance salesmen Monday through Friday, it's just a recipe for disaster. And when you see play after crucial play made in an inconsistent or difficult to understand way, that's no good. One thing that I like is what the ACC does, where the review process is transparent. I mean, the telecast is tied into the replay booth, and people get to watch the deliberation, how the decision was made, and the key moment of the play that they make the ruling on, they show it. Well, that would promote consistency and understanding of the rules, and I think we'd get a better product, which is what everybody wants.
Right. I mean, it's not like coaches are working part-time. It's not like the players are working part-time. I mean, this is a full-time job for everybody. And like you said, they work during the week and they come and call a game on a weekend. And it's not like, they've been doing it all week. Players have been practicing all week. Officials aren't, I mean, the only way you work in a game speed is game speed. You can watch all the film you want, but, you got to be in the action. And I just feel like They should be during the week. They should be at different teams, and they should be refereeing practices and whatever and all that. That it should be a full-time job. I mean, they have the money. The money is ridiculous. I mean, now I was going to ask you too. So you are a prolific writer. Is not even a good word to describe you. But so if they're 5, it could be Bama. Well, if they're 5, it could be the 12 then, which means you might get Tulane or North Texas. James Madison might. That's the thing. I wanted to ask you that. Listen, the American has 3 teams right now in the top 25 with Navy, North Texas, and Tulane. I am not taking anything away from James Madison, but James Madison played nobody, and they barely beat a Washington State team that stunk. The Sun Belt's a Sun Belt. It's not a powerhouse conference. So I just can't see James Madison going into the college football playoff. But that's another thing. How do you feel about all this? So Sumrall is leaving Tulane, but he's going to coach them to the playoff, and then he's going to go coach Florida, which I don't know how you even do that. Do you feel? I saw Lincoln Riley, who I can't stand, but actually spoke very eloquently about it. Say, oh no, the Texas Tech coach. I'm sorry, but also Lincoln Riley said, start the season August 23rd, and everything is done by January 1st. Then you push back the signing day. You push back the transfer portal. It should and the coaching hires. And if you go to a team, players on your team can't go to that team. Or if you take players away, he said there should be a penalty. And I just can't stand it because Will Stein should not have been hired right now when you're getting ready for a playoff game. I mean, I know he's a professional. You can't do both jobs. That's my opinion. So, I mean, I hear what you say, but I think it's just too much. He's got to do recruiting. He's got to basically re-recruit the kids there. He's going to lose some guys. And it's like he's got to run an offense with Oregon, which Dan Lanning's like, hey, go home this Thursday. He's not doing that stuff. This is like, I mean, I just don't know how they can do it. I think they're setting guys up for failure in a way. It's just too much. What do you think about that? I know I went on my little rant, but it's been bothering me. I just feel like Lane Kiffin. I can't. I never liked Lane Kiffin and what he did to those kids at Ole Miss. I'm glad they said he can't coach a team. Get out of here. We don't. You know what? You shouldn't be part of this team anymore. You quit on this team. That's what I took it as.
I agree, JD, with your larger point. College football needs a calendar that makes sense, and there's got to be some coordination. And it would make the game so much better if you conducted the playoffs in December. The championship game was on New Year's Day at the Rose Bowl, by the way, the most historic and iconic venue.
Right.
And all of the off-field stuff, coaching hires, the transfer portal, the early signing period, all occur in January after the season is over. And it's coordinated, it's consistent. You may even want to move spring practice to go along with that. But the main thing is you can't have this chaos where coaches are leaving for other jobs, players are transferring, all where you're trying to compete on the field. It doesn't make sense, and it creates this giant distraction, and the committee ends up having to evaluate, well, is Ole Miss still number 6 without their coach?
Right.
Golding's going to do a good job there, but that's a lot, and it isn't fair to penalize the players for a decision the coach made.
But what did you agree with? So because you don't have to agree with me. I mean, I love that you. I mean, you think Will Stein's going to. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I just feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on him, and he's a young guy. He's 36.
He's a young guy. He's 36 with two small children. But
yeah, that's.
You make a good point. It's a better show if we don't agree. If we're at each other's throats. But I don't think either one of us are that kind of guy. Who can have the getting somebody's face and yell at him type of technique that works so well for. Stephen A. Smith or some.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The minute you said it, that's exactly. And I said, I can't stand that stuff. No, I was just, listen, the give and take. I'm not trying to be like, but it just annoys me so much that Will Stein is going to be a very good head coach. You can just tell he's going to be a very good. And Kentucky, which I think has delusions of grandeur because Kentucky is a basketball school. And I mean, Stoops won 10 games and went to a New Year's Day bowl. That should be a statue on that campus because it's a basketball school. I mean, maybe they could turn it around, but it really is basketball. And I, I just feel like that's a tough place to win. It's a tough place to win. Really tough. But
Stein has roots in the area, and that will
yes,
help him a lot. He grew up a Kentucky fan, and the beauty of it is the expectations there are really reasonable. If he wins 7 to 8 games and goes to a bowl, and every third year he wins 10 or 11 and makes the playoffs or contends in the SEC, he's got a couple things going for him. One, he's an offensive-minded coach with a scheme and a philosophy. So, he can he can recruit a good quarterback who can sling the rock. Maybe he'll get Austin Novosad, the reserve quarterback for the Ducks, who's from Dripping Springs, Texas, and threw for 9,000 yards as a prep. Matt Ponatowski is the quarterback he's signing tomorrow, a four-star
right,
from Cincinnati, who was he's also a Major League Baseball prospect, a shortstop and pitcher. So they get a plus athlete like that at quarterback who can beat teams with scheme and sass and gut and heart. They can be competitive. They can be a fun program to watch, and Kentucky fans are going to be happy at 8-4.
right,
And that's
right,
achievable for him. The
right.
reason why Stoops got fired is he had losing records the last 2 seasons, and he lost to Louisville 41-0 on
Yeah, they
Saturday,
got
and that was
right.
that was the last straw for him. I think Stein can maintain a higher level of competitiveness. He's a bright offensive mind with a scheme, and that's what they need in a place like that because they're not going to out recruit the Alabamas or the LSUs.
But he can, like you said, offensive mind. That you see, when you make me, when I talk about pro football, Sean McVay and Shanahan puts his players in the position to succeed. He knows he's a scheme that works, and he finds the guy to work in that scheme. And I think Stein and I think Lanning, your Oregon team, gets those speedsters guys where he puts them in positions to succeed. And Stein will find those guys. There's going to be some 5'8" kid in Kentucky who is going to be all like what 160, 170 pounds, and that kid is going to go through a brick wall for Stein, and he'll have I think he'll find the guys that will work in his system, and it'll be fun to watch. It won't be like you won't have 10-7 games. You'll have some high scoring games, and the offense they'll have to probably get the defense and get everybody together. But yeah, I really want to see that's the only thing with success like Oregon is that you start losing coaches and you lost Dillingham and you didn't miss a beat with that and now you're losing Stein and you're going to find a guy that's going to come in and a guy is coming to Oregon like you said facilities 14 to 18 uniformed a season basically. Hey, let's try this. We're gonna and it has to be intoxicating being there. I mean the energy is just you got Phil Knight backing you too. That I don't think there's any with recruiting too. What now? You're going for your third straight year with the top 5 recruiting class. How's that looking? The recruiting class.
It looks very good. They have 19 kids committed, and every one of them in the last week or so has reaffirmed their commitment. They've, issued a social media post saying, I'm signing on Wednesday. I've got a ceremony planned at my school on Thursday. That's Kendra Harrison. They're incredible. I have 6'6", 250-pound tight end from North Carolina. Just a great athlete to replace Sadiq.
Oh
And
my
they get
God.
players like that who are really dynamic. Defensively, they're signing a kid, Anthony Jones, from Alabama and the state of Alabama. And
Right.
he's a 4 or 5 star kid, depending on the service. Jet Washington, the safety, is a 6'5" safety from uh, the school in Nevada.
Oh,
The prep factory.
Bishop Gorman. Bishop
Bishop
Gorman.
Gorman. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue. I was going to say Bishop Gorman, but I thought I was wrong. But he's another plus athlete. He's a basketball point guard. He's a nephew of Kobe Bryant. But just a ball hawk and a physical presence at safety. So he's really promising, a 5 star kid. And you go down the line, they have Emmanuel Iheanacho, the offensive tackle. He's 6'6", 335 from Maryland.
Six
The,
six 335, and so
he's
he's still growing into that body.
Yeah, he's a big
Oh my,
dude. He squats 650 pounds. I
oh
mean,
my
the
God.
guy is a certifiable monster and a straight A student. You know,
That
the
is
the thing about Oregon's recruiting is they not only recruit guys who are talented and highly rated, they recruit guys who want to come to Oregon and buy into the process and the system and the competitive approach of the Ducks. And Iheanacho, Washington, Anthony Jones, they're all that type of guy. And you look at their high school film and what their coaches say about them. This is an exceptional recruiting class. In fact, in terms of average ranking for per recruit, it's number 1 in the country. Right? They average 4.4 stars per recruit. It's insane.
that
Um,
is insane. I mean,
yeah,
the tight
yeah,
end,
yeah,
the kid from North Carolina. Can you imagine a 6'6", 250 going down the middle of the field and I mean, he's a linebacker and speed on top of it. Like that's why when I watch Sadiq play, to have that size and to have that athleticism, it just blows your mind as these
Well,
kids.
like Sadiq, he's a two-sport athlete. Kenyon Sadiq was a state champion in track as an all-state football player. In Henderson's case, he's a college prospect, a 4 star prospect, as a basketball player, as a power forward. And that's a great double for a tight end. You think about some great tight
Right.
ends of the past, they have that basketball ability and the way he moves, his hands, his agility. It's going to be fun to watch him develop as a college football
Three
player.
when I was at UNC, the Panthers guy, I see, Julius Peppers
Yeah,
was there when I was there. Tony Gonzalez played at Cal, and
yeah,
Antonio Gates didn't only played college football. I think Kent State. I think that's where he played. Only played basketball, and all three of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. So it really
yeah.
not are any of these guys going to attempt to play two sports, or are they just coming for football?
Harrison, the tight end, is expected to. He's a legitimate basketball prospect. If college football season is so long
Right.
now, we're hinder him a little bit, but he has the talent to do it. I mean, you should see him dunk and run the floor as a basketball player. I mean, it's stunning. I've written a couple of articles about him, and it's yeah, those highlights just make you really excited about his potential, how far he can go as an athlete.
You see, my dream would to be going to court. Someone throws an alley oop, I dunk it, and I walk off. You never see me again. Just once. I just want to dunk once, and I'll never bother anybody again. But I want one dunk with people watching, so I have proof that I did it, and I'll leave the game. But I'm amazed at the athleticism. Just when I watched even at football, the way they run the field, and it just I mean, LaMichael James, I remember him when he was and he was a tiny guy. Oh, and that's another thing. You just put up an article. Royce, I'm blanking. Royce was just added the practice squad of the Chargers. He's in place since 23. Who am I? I'm blanking on the last name.
Royce Freeman. By the way,
Yeah,
JD,
yeah.
I mispronounced. It's Kendra Harrison. His last
Okay,
name is Harrison, and he's from Reidsville, North Carolina.
I don't know where that is because I went to school, but that has to be a small little town. That has to be a
It
small little
is.
town.
It's a single A school, and that will be one of his adjustments. At the level he's at now, he's maybe one of one or two D1 prospects on the field. So when he
Right.
gets to Oregon practice and he's surrounded by safeties and linebackers and defensive ends that can run with him, that are bigger yet and even stronger and that kind of thing, that'll be adjustment for him. But he has so much athletic ability. I think he'll thrive. I really think
I, I agree with you. He's gonna. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And you're going to the college football playoff. Oh, how about this? I saw this from Doug Clawson. Year 2 quarterbacks: Drake May, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams combined to win 24 straight starts. Drake May has won 10 in a row. Bo Nix has 9. Caleb Williams has 5. Bo Nix, I'll tell you, they look terrible on Sunday Night Football. And then he got that drive at the end of overtime, and they're 10-2, and you're just like, the Broncos are 10-2. It doesn't matter doesn't matter. They're gobbling up wins. Who knows what they'll do in the playoffs, but they're going to get there. And it just, the Pats yesterday, it drives me crazy that Drake May was at UNC and they did nothing, Mac Jones. And I want Mac Brown, and I'm watching him last night, like, boop, boop, and you're just like, what's going on here? It's just amazing how these guys are playing right now. Just, wow. Just unbelievable.
I really think in a couple of those cases, particularly with Nix and the extra year of college football, the extra year of experience as a starter really helped him.
Yes. And yeah.
Caleb, what were you going to say? I believe came out 1 year early, but the other two not so much.
But they're not, and they went to Philly this week, and the Bears are 9-3. You bring in Ben Johnson. No, I don't think anybody had on their bingo card that the Bears would be playing the Packers on this weekend for the division lead and the number 1 seed basically in the NFC. I mean, it just now, and I there's a guy I follow, First Round Mock, who bashes Caleb Williams. I go, you do all you want the bashing. Bo Nix, all the bashing. 10 wins and 9 wins. Something's working. What isn't working? Okay. But what is Bo Nix seems like he's going, things are sloppy, and then bam, he makes that play. And he does it that's his 6th comeback win this year. So they kind of put you to sleep, the Broncos, and then they knock you out. They're not losing. They're not losing games. So, but people love to pick on these guys. They really do. They love to go after them. And I guess it sucks to be you. That's what I have to say. It sucks to be you. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
The Broncos have a great defense.
Yes.
A really good coach and a terrific field goal kicker. And they have Nix, who is just a wizard in those late game situations. He's pretty much unflappable. Now, he can struggle for 2.5 quarters.
Right.
But pressure does not bother him. He kind of thrives on it.
You know what the great ones do? It's amnesia. They make a bad play. It's a pick six. I don't know if you watched on Sunday. I saw the highlight. Max Bosner went in for the Vikings, who JJ McCarthy, it has not been nice, not been good. So Bosner is being sacked, and he decides, hey, let me throw it underhand to nobody. And the guy ran it back, and you're like, oh my, it's that's what we're talking about. There are so many. Dante Moore can come out this year because so many teams are in desperate need of a quarterback. There's guys playing around that should not be playing. Jacoby Brissett for the Cardinals he has Trey McBride, who Kyler Murray couldn't throw a touchdown pass him last year. They're clicking. I mean, they're not winning games, but that offense is clicking. And you look at all these. Atlanta might need a quarterback because we're not sure if Penix, if he's going to his knee, all the knee injuries. So there are so many. The Jets need a quarterback. I could go. There are Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback. So Dante Moore is going to have a decision to make because there's a chance you could always get hurt in college. A year would help him, but the money is out there that some guy's going to draft him in the top 5, top 6. And like you said, that's a lot of money. So, I look at the NFL, Dale, and I'm like, there's better quarterbacks in college. I feel like these guys in the pros, I watch, it's atrocious. And Marcus Mariota looked pretty damn good on a Sunday night. He didn't look bad. That's the best I've seen him look in a while. He didn't look. That team is. The team is not having a good year. But he came in. It was. He brought him back. So yeah, and it was an Oregon versus Oregon Sunday night football game, which was kind of nice.
That really was a terrific game, and both Nix and Mariota did a great job for their teams. And Mariota's maybe playing his way into a starting job somewhere. Not saying he'll be an all-pro or anything, but you have a guy who, represents the program well, who believes in his guys and is, a loyal, poised, team-oriented guy. Teams could do a lot worse.
Yeah, they could do a lot worse.
Yeah, he has some limitations, but man, he'll play with a lot of heart. He led the team in rushing and had 2 touchdown passes and tied the game with a field goal drive in the fourth quarter. Got a pass batted down in overtime that could have won the game.
But a guy was open. A guy was open. Guy was open in that play.
Yeah, but you got a guy there with courage and heart.
Yes. Now he walked away. He got injured. Was it last year where he walked away from a team? I think it was Atlanta. Was it Atlanta? It was somebody last year, and it did not sit well. It did not sit well with me how he kind of left. He said, "Oh, I needed surgery," but the way he left, kind of like people took it that he quit on the team. But maybe he just listen. Looking back now, looking forward now, Raheem Morris is not for long with the talent that the Falcons have. There are guys that are coaches and there are guys that are coordinators. Coordinators, not a head coach. And you got to get somebody in there. That I'd be foaming at the mouth to go to that team. Now, and could you imagine Dante Moore would be a perfect fit for the Falcons because he can move. He's mobile. He's got an arm. He's got a lot of talent with that team. But I'm not trying to push him out the door. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying it's interesting. Like you said, if he has a great postseason, then there's all of a sudden like, hey, I did all I could do this year, and he's got to think about it. Now, if that happens, who would be the guy next year?
That'd be tough.
That's right.
It'd be an open question. They'd have to reevaluate. There's always the portal.
Right. There always is.
Jaron Kiawi Sagapolutelli from California.
Oh my!
A lot of teams think that he might be available in the portal. There's Austin Novosad, who served an apprenticeship with the Ducks, but it feels like that he is going to want to start somewhere. That his time is coming. They have a true freshman quarterback, Akili Smith Jr. He's 6'6", about 220 pounds, 225 pounds. He got a good arm, good leadership, an honor roll student in high school, and he's the son of an Oregon legend. So there's a lot of optimism about him. Be a bit of growing pains transitioning to a first-time starter. I don't necessarily think they'll go in that direction, but definitely if Moore pulls the trigger on the NFL, the Ducks will have to do some evaluation. And I'm sure that contingency, that process has already been discussed. They have a really sound professional organization. Marshall Malcho, the chief of staff, is really meticulous and organized. If you look at how they've done in the transfer portal the last couple of years, this year bringing in Bear Alexander and Emmanuel Pregnon from USC, Jaden Kennedy, Dylan Thieneman, Malik Benson, and they've all been starters. They've all been a key part of this Oregon story this year. They wouldn't be in the playoff without those guys. Atticus Sappington, their field goal kicker, was a transfer portal guy 2 years ago. So, they've done a tremendous job in the portal. About 10, 11 guys a year, but they've been integral parts of their operation. They've been, exceptionally sound acquisitions.
Where did Benson come from in the portal? Where did he?
Alabama and Florida. He went to JUCO. He was a 10-4
Okay,
sprinter in high school, came out of Hutchinson, Kansas, at JUCO. He caught 2,000
yeah, that,
yards worth of passes
that
and
that's a
set a school
powerhouse.
record. But at Alabama and Florida, he was never quite in the right situation. Neither team had a strong quarterback or passing attack. So he has really blossomed at Oregon, turned himself into an NFL player with this stretch in February. I mean, he had that huge catch with 25 seconds to play to set up a winning field goal against Iowa. Then he
Oh,
had
that he was,
85
wow.
yard
Yes,
an 85-yard punt return in the game against USC, and of course he won the Washington game with a 64-yard touchdown catch. So, 3 separate weeks he's been a key cog in an Oregon win. In a playoff drive, he's
and
been
that's the
their
thing.
big dumper.
Yeah. So I live here. I live in New York, but I follow the Rutgers has two wide receivers who had monster years on crappy team, and I could just, like, I was thinking that'd be perfect for Oregon. One of the guys, just I forget the guy's name. He makes all their leading receiver. All he does is make 50-50 ball catches, 50-50 ball
Is
catches.
it Ian Strong? Is that his name?
Yes, that kid.
Yeah.
And I could see him be disgruntled there. Like, we're not winning anything. I took my chances. Another name. I talked to Eric, who arbitrary analytics. He covers Nebraska. Raiola is definitely going to be checking out the transfer portal, and that's the guy I would love to see with a powerful offense with that arm he has. Woo, with your offense, or the Cal quarterback. He is phenomenal as a freshman. Unflappable. And they brought in a former. I forget. They haven't got a. Stanford got a new coach. Cal fired their coach because they
It
lost to
might be
Stanford.
Tosh Lupoy, JD. He is a Cal grad, started
Okay,
his career in coaching as a Cal defensive line coach and recruiting specialist. He was a dynamite recruiter, still
that's the
is.
thing. Right.
So he is. A lot of the talk out there has him going to Cal, and maybe they're being quiet about it because of the playoffs. But it really looks like he's going to be the next coach of the Bears, which is a great fit for him. I think he'll do well there. And to win in the ACC at a school with high academic standards, you need some kind of hook, right? And in this case, it could be defensive play, defensive line play, linebacker play, like the old intellectual brutality approach that Stanford had some years ago. That sort of thing where, this is the identity of our team. You can't out recruit Florida State and Miami,
No.
you know. But if
And,
you have a strong identity and culture, you can compete. You can
right.
go to a bowl game. You can have once every 3 or 4 years, you can have that team that really does something in conference. And that's the
Right. And
approach I think Lupoy will take at Cal.
right. And it's keeping that quarterback. You can't do anything if you don't have. And if you can keep that quarterback, you got to do whatever you can. And the former Ron Rivera is now the GM there, so he's really about bringing. He wants to change the culture. Wilcox, you can't lose. You can't lose the game. I got into a huge argument with a guy about Alabama only won by 7, so they shouldn't make the college football playoff. I go, the Iron Bowl is the Iron Bowl. Both teams could be. One team can be undefeated, one can have no wins, and it will still be a dog. It's a rivalry game. Rivalry games are just that. You take the point spread and the records out of the conversation. But if you lose those games, that's another story. But so
Especially if you lose them in an embarrassing way.
right,
You made another good point too, JD. The GM now is just crucial with NIL in the portal. You've got to have a guy who's in that general manager role, overseeing things, mining the portal, managing the contracts and the deals. A coach can't do that. You don't want his focus on all of that. So you have to have a guy who has an overall plan and a sense of the budget, maximizes the resources, gets the right guys in your program that fit the program. And that's what Malcho's done an amazing job with the Ducks. Bowden at USC has really elevated that program with his skills as a general manager.
You have to find a way that these kids now expect to get paid. I don't know what it is for each player, but you know what? And a guy has a good year, he wants a re-up. So it's almost like, it's like 1-year contracts. And if you have a good year, that's okay. But if you don't, you know what? We're not going to pay you. But these kids are looking. I have a good year. I'm going to start looking at the schools that need a wide receiver, need a running back, need a linebacker, and it helps you and it hurts you. But like you said, you have a good GM at Oregon. Like you said, they're ready for every scenario. They've already planned it out. If Dante leaves, they're already thinking ahead. Who do we have? What do we need to replace? What could we improve on? And now with the transfer portal, it's like Christmas. You just look at, hey, it's like going to Costco or doing Amazon. Okay, we need a linebacker. And yeah, you never have enough players. Never have enough.
No, absolutely. It's all about the players. And the other thing is a coach and the staff, they have to adjust to that. That's the reality. You may not like it. You may not like, the salaries and the escalation and all of that, but that's the world we're living in now. So you have to adjust and have a plan for it. You have to, what can we do to maximize our growth in this situation? I don't know if it's sustainable for college football as a whole. I think they need to do some hard thinking about maybe a little bit more structure and
or a cap. I think a cap
or a collective bargaining agreement.
Right.
I mean,
something.
it's gotten to the point where they just have to face the reality of it. And, this unrestricted free agency for everyone every year is economic suicide for the whole sport. It's been fun to follow as a fan because we get a chance to, wow, any team can be good, any team can improve. There's parity all over college football, but as a model, it's just not sustainable. It just gets crazier and crazier.
And this, I always think of the stress, and I know they get paid a ton of money. The stress on coaches. You never sleep. A win, you don't sleep. A loss, you don't sleep. You're always thinking, I got to go to recruit guys. It never ends. The cycle never ends. And on top of it, you're trying to coach you're coaching 18 to 22-year-olds who are going to make mistakes. They're going to lose. They're going to lose focus. They're going to do dumb plays. They're going to start getting too hyped up. They're fighting whatever. And you got to worry if they're, and it's constantly, it has to be, I know Lanny gets paid a ton of money, but that job, I don't know if I'd want that job. I don't know if I really want, because I can't sleep as it is. And I would think I would just be, my mind would never, I could never shut it off. There's constantly, it's just nonstop around you, Dale. It's 24/7. There really is no time off, right? There's no time off.
The pressure and the expectations are amazing. And you look at a guy like James Franklin at Penn State, who made a BCS bowl something like 6 or 7 years in a row, and took a program that was in ruins and raised it out of the dead, and then they said, "Well, see you later. You're not meeting expectations. We're moving on." And now here it is. They were the first team into the carousel, and they still have a coach.
They don't have one.
Yeah, they're talking about Kalani Sitake, but that's not a done deal and may not fall through. Then they have to move on to Jeff Brom. Who knows who they get? They may wind up, I don't want to say settling, but they may circle back to their interim coach, Terry Smith. But it's just an impossible situation when you reach that level of expectation and pressure. And the portal and NIL have only increased it because now the boosters have a huge investment in the program, and they have the perception that, wow, we got the portal. We don't have to have down years. We can just turn it around.
And the portal doesn't always, it's not a fit. The Yankees
has the portal too.
Right. Yeah. And also the Yankees used to pay for players, and it was a team. You may have the best at everything, but if they don't gel, then you're Scrooged. And I'm a little shocked at Penn State. I was more shocked that is like going to first of all, you don't own California. You don't have the NAL. You play in front of a half-empty Rose Bowl. I don't know. A very hard place to win. And I was shocked he took that job. But I know it's a Big Ten job, but I thought that's where I was like, I really would love to talk to him and be like, what made you decide to come here? Because they must have offered him something that I just like Lane Kiffin. You know, that's another job where Brian Kelly couldn't get it done.
At places like that, places like LSU, if you don't win 10 games, if you don't win the conference, at least 1 year out of 3, maybe 1 year out of 2, if you don't compete for a national championship, you're gone. I mean,
Gone.
9 games and a New Year's Day bowl, it's not enough. You're expected to beat Alabama.
Right.
And that's a lot. There's even talk that Kalen DeBoer might not be completely happy at Alabama. Now it's only talk, could be wishful thinking.
But right, because they're not blowing anybody out either this year. They're winning 1-score games, which for Bama fans isn't enough. They should be winning by 3 touchdowns. And everybody got, like you said, parity. Everybody got better. And I would take Kalen DeBoer as a head coach.
Oh yeah. He's a terrific coach. He cleaned Oregon's clock 3 years in a row, or 3 games in a row over this course of 2 years. But and again, he's a guy who has a system, right? He's got that passing attack and the intermediate passing and builds a very dynamic program, which maybe isn't the greatest fit at Alabama if you look at their history and culture. There have been some national voices who have speculated that he might consider the Penn State job. Just a different environment where maybe his style fits just a little better. It'll be fun to see how that turns out. I don't have any inside information, not in the slides.
No, but that's interesting you said that because, and I don't know if the BYU guy is a good fit there. That's a different kind of, that's a big change because BYU, you win 11, you get a statue in front of the stadium.
And he's got a program at BYU where, as you say, if he wins 10, 11 games, he's a hero. And there are just 3 players on his roster that are from the East Coast. So he's stepping into a totally different environment, to a whole collection of prep coaches that he has no relationship with. He'll be recruiting primarily in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Right.
He doesn't know that area. Now he's a good coach, a man of integrity. He'll figure a lot of it out, but it's not a clear and immediate fit. It would be a humongous challenge for him to figure all that out. And right now, Penn State, I think they have something like 9 kids in their recruiting class. It isn't very many. They're 18th out of the Big Ten schools in recruiting ranking right now. So he's looking at a situation where he may have to recruit 60, 70 guys in the portal. So it's a monumental challenge.
And you saw what Belichick, it happened to Belichick this year with the 60, 70 players from the portal. They bombed. Yeah. And Colorado, Deion Sanders, he's got to fix some things there. Then it doesn't always work. The portal doesn't always work. It works, but you can't rely. I don't think it's a thing I would want to rely on every year. I'd want to add. Those are pieces I'd want to add, but not be the thing. And like you said, well, I didn't think him going to Kelly going to LSU. I thought that was a bad fit. I didn't see that at all. I didn't think he was. He's not that guy. He's not flashy like that. He doesn't have that kind of game. And Dina's they won 9 games, won a Heisman Trophy, and people still were ticked off. Like, well, if we win the Heisman Trophy, why we only win 9 games? And it's like, So
it was never a fit. It got awkward from the very beginning with his weird dance.
Yeah.
Yep. his fake Southern accent. You got to be
Oh,
genuine. You got to be yourself. You can't, put on some other personality to try to win people over. People see through that.
they
And
do.
and Kiffin, I think, will do a little better there because he's a charmer and he has a good offensive scheme. But the expectations they have, if he doesn't win at that highest level, they won't be happy with him either.
I mean, Stoops has to get paid from Kentucky $37 million in the next 60 days for a coach who was okay and mediocre in the last couple. It's the over and over again, and I'm like, you guys never learn. And there'll be hires with this group that I'm still not a. I still think Summerall going from Tulane to Florida, he hasn't coached. That is a big difference coaching at Tulane and coaching to Florida. They're going to expect him. I just think maybe they have unreal expectations because they had Spurrier and Urban Meyer in the past, and those guys were phenomenal. I mean, they won everywhere they went. So I don't know. I think Summerall's a good coach. I just don't know if he's good enough. Florida's a big change, and SEC they just beat the crap out of each other every week. Every week, it's just that's all they do. You're lucky to get 2 losses out of that conference. Come out with a 10-2 record if you're lucky. I mean, it's
And beginning next year, they'll play 9 conference games.
right,
which is a whole nother animal.
right.
The thing that's made that conference tougher is it used to be Georgia and Alabama and maybe LSU or one other team. But now, it's a deep conference. You've got, Oklahoma and A&M and Missouri. They're playing really
Vanderbilt.
football. Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. They won 10 games. They used to win 10 games in 5 years.
Yes.
So
you're not going to get a lot of breathers, especially with a 9-game schedule. And so, some of these new coaches coming into the conference, it'll be a lot for them.
It will be.
I looked at Kentucky's schedule for next year, and it is scary. What
it is
stepping into? Oh yeah, they've got to play some football to make a bowl next year. Because they're
that was like
I think they have like 5 or 6 games against the top half of the conference.
That's what Florida had this year. They had a murderer's row. Every week it was like bam, bam. There was no break. And just crazy. Yeah. So that's why I wanted
One of the problems now, JD, is that with the huge supersized conferences, the schedules are really uneven. You'll have a team like Florida that's playing all the toughest opponents. Then you'll have a team like A&M that maybe plays 1 or 2 games against the top half of the conference. And the differences between schedules is so vast. What one team plays versus another. It can be brutal sometimes.
A&M did it right. Yeah, it is right. It was a big difference. They didn't play. They played Bama. They didn't play Georgia. They played LSU, which was down. I don't think they played Florida, and then they played Tech. I saw their schedule. They played a lot of the lower tier teams. I didn't think they were. I watched them play. I heard Marcel Reed was hurt. I was impressed with A&M. I mean, I thought Marcel Reed threw some nice balls, but that wasn't the number 3 team. And Elko was so. Did you see him after the game? They were cheering. He goes, "This is a This isn't professional," because he could hear the Texas players from the locker room. This is a professional setting. Yeah, he went crazy.
He did the same thing James Franklin did after last year's Big Ten game. He said, "This is a real JV setup."
You lost the game. Deal with it, okay? I know you're angry. Ridiculous. Now, what do you think we should do a show again?
I would love to do it any time. I always enjoy talking with you. One good possibility would be after the college football playoff selection show.
Yeah, let's do that. That'll be next week.
It will. The selection
Sunday
takes place Sunday afternoon. So we could either do it, that afternoon or the next day, perhaps, if you like.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Let's shoot for that. Let's do it after the. Yeah. I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate the time today. As always, it's never dull with you. And I really, yeah. So yeah, let's do it after the selection show. Uh, do you feel any upsets in the championship games? Uh,
I yes, I think they're going to. I agree with you that the Buckeyes will probably handle Indiana. Uh, I think Georgia will handle Alabama, and that will, if it's not a competitive game, if it's not a good
right.
effort by the Tide, Kalen DeBoer will feel some heat. I mean, some
Yes.
dissatisfaction, and
Right.
that might push him out the door. I don't know. Uh, BYU and Texas Tech. I mean, the loser of that game is in jeopardy as far as making the playoff. You know,
Someone said to me, since Texas Tech beat BYU, if BYU wins, they'll both get in. But if Texas Tech wins, BYU's out. And I'm like,
yeah,
so the only two losses would be to Texas Tech. But I hear you. But 11-2, that hurts. That hurts to get knocked out.
it definitely does. It's just a tough year because there's that clump of two lost teams:
I know.
Miami, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. So it gets really contested. And if there's a reason to eliminate you, they've got to eliminate somebody. And there's a lot of pressure on those teams that are in that bubble.
Now,
And the Duke Virginia game is really crazy because if Duke wins,
right,
maybe nobody from the ACC makes the playoff,
right.
and Virginia is only a 2.5 point favorite, so that
And
could
they
be
haven't played. Yeah.
that
Virginia
could be
hasn't
a
played
game changer.
that, right. I looked up, UVA had one game against a ranked team, and it was Florida State when Florida State was ranked. That's it. They didn't play anybody this year. They didn't play anybody. Now they won what, they went 10, 11, they went 10 games. But that's what I was going to ask you. Who do you feel deserves to get it out of that? Vandy, Texas, I guess Virginia. My cousin feels that Texas should get in because they did play all the teams. Who they play? They played Georgia. They played no, they didn't play Ole Miss. They played the Aggies. They played Oklahoma. So they played 3 teams in the top 8. Oh, and I'm sorry, 4 of the top 8 teams they played this year. They
It's
lost 3
really
of them.
hard. I'm glad the committee has that job and not me. But if it's
Yes.
me, I'm looking at if Virginia wins the ACC and beats Duke, as a 10-win team and conference champion, I think they have to be in the playoff.
I agree.
It's a really weird situation with Miami and Notre Dame because
Right.
Notre Dame's
Miami beat
played
them.
better football over the course of the season, but Miami beat them head to head with the same record. So that's a tough thing to parse out. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, A&M, they're done playing football. They put up a decent record. I think they're all in. Then it comes down to, Alabama playing a competitive game against the Bulldogs and BYU handling business against Texas Tech. Those two teams probably have to win to be assured of a spot just because that bunch is so tight. And of course, one team from the group of 5 is legislatively mandated to get in.
Right. And then it's so North Texas plays Tulane and James Madison plays, I think, Troy. So you played Montana State. Montana State's playing Yale in the second round of the FCS on Saturday. I saw that. And who else played? Kennesaw State. We joke about it. My friend and I, we rooting for the Owls this year because they're playing in the Conference USA championship game against Jack State. And I think Indiana only put up 56 against them. So I was, they're not the same conference, but that, like you said, Illinois, they put up 63 on them. So I'm curious to see. So yeah, let's do a show after the, and I love the Army Navy game, which should be a good game this year. I mean, Navy's playing good football and Army's playing pretty good football. Well, not but Navy had a really good year this year, which I'm shocked about. Those are students who happen to play a sport. That is the only college where you're going to class. You're not taking you're not taking basket weaving. You're going to class at those schools at the service academies. So I love watching that stuff. So
Jay,
I want to thank you. What?
It's great talking with you. I'm glad we had a chance to connect. I'm looking forward to next time.
And you want to give a shout out for any of your so Dale, you're on your face what are you under Facebook? It's under you, or is it under Autzen Zoo?
Okay. AustenZoo.com, the Autzen
Okay.
Zoo Facebook page, or on Twitter at AutzenZoo_bliss.
That's what, and he writes a plethora of articles. Like I look and there's 17 articles up. I'm like, bam, 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 bam. So I like them all. So Dale, have a great day. We will talk soon. And yeah, I'm kind of curious tonight to see where they're going to put you guys in the college football playoff. I think you'll stay in the same.
Too.
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay. Have a good one.
See you.
See ya. Oh, and how do I get out of here? Oh, take it easy. Take it easy. Taking it easy.